keeping the blur on because Nick likes it like that.
I will literally stab you and myself if you leave the Skype blur on this whole time.
Why don't you like the Skype blur?
So it's artificial and it doesn't fit your face properly.
But it got mirrors in the background.
So much nicer. Oh, thank God. Why the fuck, by the way? You know what? No. You know, I saw it. You set me up. And no, I'm not going to. I refuse to do everything that you set out to get me to do. So I won't. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Are you referring to
No,
my
I'm not
shirt?
referring to anything. Not referring to anything that you are wearing.
You know why, dude? Because fuck it. This is the world now.
This is who you are.
Yeah. Trump 2020, baby. Will they even... No, I'll take it off. I just wanted the reaction.
Yeah. Very transparently.
Also, I don't want people on the street to see me wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah. Why do you have it?
Funny story, actually. I got two. For Halloween last year, I was going to go as a Republican or whatever to this Halloween party. And so I ordered this hat from China for like $3. So it was a knockoff one. So Trump's not getting any of my actual money.
Trump's hats also come from China.
Yeah, whatever. Probably. And so I bought this hat, and then it got to like the Friday before the Halloween party. I was like, I didn't get a hat, so I didn't have a hat. And then, so I'd paid this, even though it was only $3. I was like, well, you know, I did pay for the hat and I haven't received it. So I emailed them. I said, where's my fucking MAGA hat? And they said, we're really sorry. We'll send you another one, express post. Got two on the same day.
Wow.
So now I have two MAGA hats.
That is a funny story.
It's funny, isn't it?
That's a funny... That makes me have a ha-ha.
Ha.
How is the work from home life treating you? You look the same.
Work from home life?
Yeah.
I'm working on getting a new job, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, got the old... It's funny. I think we were talking about this the other day. When so we had a meeting last Friday, and we thought we were going to be operational in some capacity over the few months. So I thought I would at least have things to do because I still needed to, write releases and stuff. And there were gigs that we had cancelled that were like months and months of gigs. So I was like, I'll have heaps to do. Turns out telling people that everything will be shut is pretty quick.
Yeah.
Job.
You do it once. Yeah.
You do it once, and I think they were maybe trying to keep our hopes up. Some of the key staff, they were trying to keep our hopes alive a little bit. But yeah, we had a meeting last Friday, and they were like, we can't really afford to pay anyone if we're not open at all. So they said you gotta maybe start looking for other work. So I've got a few weeks of annual leave. But that will end in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'm probably going to have to go on the fucking dole, man.
Yeah. Job seeker.
Crazy, which I haven't done since uni.
Yeah. The state of the world.
Funny to think that only a couple of weeks ago, you asked me what would it take for me to be worried about this virus, and I said... It would take a lot, man. You know?
And here we are, 1 month later, you living at home, jobless on the dole.
Fuck me.
It's a sad state of affairs, really. Can I get you in this episode to really try to have your mic central and close to your mouth this whole time? Because it's my challenge is to level your audio, and when you're doing this sort of stuff,
I'm a mover. I'm a shaker.
I know you're a mover. I don't want you to be unemotional. You know, if anything, I expect you to be emotional. But yeah, if you could Try and keep like a 15 centimeter kind of
I'll be conscious.
a friendly. It's keep it kissable. That's what I like to say. Keep it kissable.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah,
I'll do it.
yeah.
That felt really, really bad. That felt really. I felt really bad about myself for doing that.
Well, I mean, you're in isolation. You're looking for a little bit of comfort, and
I could do with the work. Maybe I could be a webcam guy.
Maybe.
You know.
I was reading a interesting book called "In Order to Live" by Yeonmi Ja.
Johansson.
No, it was about a North Korean woman who escaped North Korea through China into Mongolia, flew back to South Korea, and sort of is now based in South Korea as a defector from North Korea. Really interesting book. Actually, surprisingly quick read, like a breezy read. It's just very plainly told, but a fascinating insight into what life in North Korea is. Anyway, she crossed the border with the help of people into China and sort of thought that she'd be home free. Unfortunately, she was then caught up in human trafficking. Interesting story. Ups and downs. But one of the things that she did in China as she was trying to buy her freedom and find a way to escape imprisonment a second time was webcam stuff.
Okay.
And so
Like
what I'm
sexy
saying...
stuff?
Yeah. She was
Nice.
like 14 at the time.
Was she cute?
Jesus Christ. So what I'm saying is that, you know, there's opportunities out there if you're willing to look for them.
Yeah. Well, I have been given that a big old think. But it's tough. Like, I mean, thinking outside the box is what I meant for ways to generate income, and especially because this is potentially only a temporary thing, but you don't know how long. And our jobs have been basically guaranteed for when we go back. But
you gotta pay the bills in the intervening 3 months or whatever it'll be. Yeah.
Has New Zealand frozen rent, or are they just frozen rent increase?
They're frozen rent increases, and no one can be evicted.
Right.
You still have to pay rent, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's going to be ousted, and there is sort of the wage subsidy thing. So if you've lost income from work you would have expected to have, you'll get some compensation of that. Annoyingly, because I work from home, none of my work has really dried up. If anything, I've actually picked up a little bit more, which is fucking annoying because I would have liked a government handout, given that the rest of the year I make fucking no money. But no, because I am already doing the work that I was already doing, I cannot in good conscience claim government support.
Well, why don't you just throw away your conscience?
Well, it's something I value.
You could sell it.
I could get a little bit of money on the side.
Penny for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a high quality. Yeah, it's been interesting. So, I don't know. Okay. Okay. Welcome to Deep Forward, everybody. This is a podcast. I think we're just gonna ramble today, but there's so many interesting things on, so that's fine. Sitting through the internet with me in a Bubble Boy suit and looking unkempt, just like normal. Michael Zabrecki, say hi, Michael. And I'm Nick. Hi, Nick. Hi. Well, I hope that you're all taking care of yourself, washing your hands, avoiding people, staying indoors, not going out to social events. There should be no social events. You should cut off all friendships and families.
Shouldn't be hard for you.
Be independent. Don't lean on others, you fucking wuss. Stride out into the wilderness like a lumberjack. Live off the land. That's what New Zealand said to do. But seriously, I hope you're doing okay. Maybe we up the podcast schedule a little bit. You're fucking unemployed. I'm locked in a house for the next month. Let's go weekly for a bit, maybe.
Let's do it.
I got nothing better to do. I'm actually quite busy. Anyway,
you should my friend Casper, who actually listens to all of these pretty regularly. He's
Casper,
actually
the
moving back
lovely
to
bloke.
New Zealand.
That's like a joke on Casper the Friendly Ghost. Casper the lovely bloke. That's what we call him.
That's good. You're picking up a little bit of an accent.
A Kiwi accent.
A little bit.
A little bit of an accent.
A little. I bet I could do a bit of Kiwi accent than you, Nook. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, actually. Yeah, I'll pay that.
Thank you.
Sorry, I feel like you were making a point, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, it's just that Casper's moving back to New Zealand, so you should.
He is.
I actually already told him to hit you up.
Where is he moving to?
Wellington, I think.
Okay.
Actually, maybe Auckland. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, that's good for Casper. It is not where I am.
It's a bit far to meet a complete stranger.
Yeah.
Actually.
You know, I've done weirder things on Grindr.
Okay.
The umming and ahhing before the intro was because I figured this is probably going to be the substance of our talk, so let's just get the intro out of the way.
Forever.
Yeah, New Zealand's in full stage 4 lockdown at the moment. We are prevented from leaving the house unless going to the supermarket or pharmacy, or taking small moments of exercise, walk around the block, that sort of thing. If you go to the park or anything like that, you can only do so with people that you are in a bubble with, in isolation with, in your household. Anyone else has to be more than 2 meters away from you. And this will be life for the next month or more. This is not ending anytime soon. And depending on how well people abide by these rules and minimize the community outbreak, it will either be 4 weeks or it might be longer if things are still unresolved and uncontained after that month is up. So, yeah, we're in full isolation mode, which is kind of crazy.
This is probably a stupid thought that I had, that probably many people have had, but it did cross. Was thinking that. I mean, this is such an inconvenience, the world's biggest inconvenience ever. It's inconvenienced the whole world massively. That why don't we just take it, let's just go on as normal, and people will die, but people die anyway. Just let them die, and let the ones who can beat it get on with their lives.
I'm glad that you couldn't even get to the end of that with a straight face.
Well, I mean, is it that crazy?
It is crazy. It's inhumane.
Is it?
Yes. No. Yes, it's true that people die all the time. That doesn't mean that it is good for society to let a virus run rampant through a population. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, all right.
It's also not... I think that's biased from a sense that you have that your personal risk is lower than others.
Yeah, it is.
If you were genuinely in one of the targeted...
I've already had it and beaten it, actually.
Oh, really? Is that why you look so sweaty and pale?
No, that's... Hello, what? It's just because I pulled the blinds down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, so that's a crazy idea, because the mortality rate is too high.
Yeah, your odds of surviving are not great. The other thing with yeah, they really aren't. Like, if you get
my odds,
yeah,
what are you talking about me for?
1 in 5 people, like in our age range, ends up in hospital. Like, it is not just an easy flu for everyone. It is seriously like weeks of pain and suffering. Some people will never get their lung function back, even if they do keep it. Like, do beat it. I'm sorry. It's and the whole thing is that peak of cases overwhelming the medical system, right? If you get into hospital, you don't want to be fighting with the person in the next bed to get the medical help or the ventilator you need to survive the thing. It's not sensible.
Yeah.
Do you find it at all surprising that mentality, which I'm not sure how much you take seriously, has risen very seriously in some of the right-wing sort of circles about we need to keep the economy going more than it matters to stop 3 million people dying, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, I was saying it as a joke, but it was genuinely a thought that did cross my mind at one point. But that's kind of, not really not really fully taking into account the severity of it. But yeah, I did see that Trump was like, we're going to open the economy up by Easter.
Yeah.
And he said, even in an interview, he said, come Easter, like he said, Easter's a very special day for me. No, it's not. And you'll watch
hey, you get
all
chocolate.
These churches. Oh, yeah, true. All these churches that are now effectively closed, they're going to be packed. Just you watch. Just you watch. There's a lot of action on the street today. Sorry, I keep getting distracted.
Should have put that blind down further.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So Trump wants to open up the economy by Easter, which he doesn't really even have the power to do that.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, America has really fucking fumbled this entire thing. It is a disaster over there. They are now, I believe, the global center of the pandemic. They have complete
New York City.
Yeah. So many cases, and it's so untested and wildly rampant around the population. It is truly catastrophic.
Is Easter still happening, by the way? Is Easter cancelled?
Easter's still in the supermarket. There's a whole bunch of eggs and stuff around. I don't think people I mean, if you got a family, you probably do an Easter egg hunt on the back lawn or something like that, right? The idea that Trump is just so like focused on the economy as the metric of his government's success, and yet his complete inability to treat this thing seriously has now created the economy to levels worse than when he started, is its own kind of poetic irony, right? Like that's quite nice. I mean, of all the shit that he's done, killing 3 million Americans will probably seal the deal when it comes to his election chances. But the ultimate, again, the another irony, I suppose, is the people that listen to him and act like it's no big deal and go out in public and end up in church and shake hands with everyone, and despite all the health warnings, are the ones who are going to be disproportionately sick and dead as a result. I mean, literally just led like a cult of people to their deaths. That's kind of fucking crazy.
Well, here's the other thing, though, and really hate to entertain two kind of right-wing arguments here. But the other thing that I was wondering was that why this is largely the Chinese government's fault that they let this happen. That these no, it's true. The meat markets that they have allowed to exist and haven't shut down is where this thing started. And why is no one really talking about, why is there no blame being put on the Chinese government? There should be. I don't think that's not like a right wing, I mean, maybe the right are touting that argument, but I don't think it's necessarily a racist argument to say that. It's racist to call it Kung Flu, which is objectively kind of funny.
Are people calling it that?
I think Trump called it Kung Flu.
I haven't heard him say that.
Yeah. I was trying to think if it came out of Italy, everyone would call it Fluigi. I wrote that one down, actually.
Okay, that's good. The thing with the China aspect of it, I think the greater sin of the Chinese government was not so much that they didn't shut down meat markets. There's a cultural aspect there, and people need to buy food, right? That's just the way that it's not just for food, it's for pets. They've got Amazonian pythons in cages next to African monkeys with pangolins. They've got all these animals from different parts of the world that haven't evolved or haven't even had any contact with each other
in terms of environment at all.
Yeah, but that's
all
not what
next to each
causes
other.
the virus.
That is that's what
No,
they think.
no.
They're selling,
Simply the fact that two animals have never interacted doesn't cause a virus.
Well, it was on 60 Minutes. Having all those creatures together.
It was transmitted from
disease.
creature to creature in a way that mutated the virus. But that's not. It's not like if you put like a giraffe and a whale next to each other, they're going to create a super virus. You need to have a virus already existed that gets transmitted and mutated as it passes from creature to creature. It's not like fucking baking soda and vinegar just causing an explosion when you get them close to each other.
That's genuinely what I thought it was.
Yeah, you need
baking soda and vinegar.
You need a virus which exists in one species of creature already, that then ends up transmitted to a new species. And then that works as a gateway to then make it jump from animal to human, right? So potentially, if it was pangolins or whatever they thought, I don't know if we've identified yet where it originated. A pangolin and a human could encounter each other, and the virus is too different in its biology to be transmittable to humans. But if it transmits to an intermediary, and then that intermediary gets in contact with a human, because of the process of that mutation, then it can go through our population. So that's why the danger of having those animals stored next to each other. It wasn't that they're like fucking elemental building blocks where if you bash them together,
they're
you
just
create
breathing on each other.
No, it's just you had one virus in one species which was able to jump across a couple of different ones. The problem here,
I think
I agree that there are health issues in terms of the way that they do it, but I also think that there are realistic limitations on the amount that the government can do to regulate the way that sort of food is being sold or those animals are being processed. They probably could do more than they are doing, but there's also it's a huge fucking country with billions of people, right? The thing that I think they had a problem with was the communist style, like the Chernobyl style information delivery system and denial of a problem. That was what their actual mistake was. That was the too many chains of hierarchy between where something was happening on the ground and the top level people who can make a decision. The reticence to admit there was a problem, and in fact the imprisonment and bad mouthing of doctors who raised their hand to say, hey, we've got a virus outbreak here, something needs to be done. That kind of process which delayed the quarantining of those areas and allowed it to spread, that was the mistake, and that's what does deserve criticism. And I think
like 5 million people leave and travel out of Wuhan.
Yeah. I mean, that undoubtedly is what began the spread, right? You got to work hard and fast to contain a thing like that, and they didn't. Second to your point, or I should say to your second point, why is no one complaining about this? Because it's a crisis. And right now, the priority is dealing with the problem rather than allocating blame. Right now, the world needs to be unified in its treatment of this thing. People need to be sharing information, scientific research across borders. There needs to be collaboration in the way that governments hand over citizens back and forth as they try and get home. There needs to be a unified front from the World Health Organization, from the UN, this kind of thing, in allocating funds and information and resources so that as a world, it doesn't get worse. It is going to get worse, but that's where people's priorities are, right? After it's under control, there will undoubtedly be examination of how this happened, examination of countries' policies internally and foreign policies abroad. And I'm sure that there will be discussions had in the form of, trade, diplomacy, that kind of thing, as to how blame should be allocated and if someone deserves a slap on the wrist for what they did.
Slap on the wrist.
Slapping on the wrist, of course, inadvisable during a pandemic.
But blame, I mean, I get your point. blame is though a way that helps prevent it happening in the future, you know?
Sure.
So I get that, like, we're in the midst of a crisis now. First thing is deal with this. Then we look at why this happened and how we can prevent it happening again.
And I think the third option, which you touched at a little bit, which is the racism angle. I think at the same time, if you start to do that blame now in a form, even if it was sort of valid criticisms, I think you open up descendants or people of that heritage or ancestry around the world to bile and attacks and victimization that they don't deserve and are not accountable for. And again, that's not helpful in this situation. The society needs to come together and work together to stop an outbreak. So again, it's potentially a bigger precaution.
Yeah, I think they even started a hotline in the US for Asian Americans to report racism.
Right.
As a result of the coronavirus.
Jeez.
Coronavirus-related racism.
Well, it kind of half surprises me, actually, mostly in the fact that America has done anything productive. But, how are you feeling about Australia at the moment? Because that's the one for me. I mean, New Zealand has had about 350 cases, I think the count is now. We've got about 25 who have now gone all the way through and recovered. We have a couple who are in critical condition. We've had no deaths so far, last time I checked.
You've had no deaths?
We have had no deaths.
Wow.
Our borders are shut, obviously, and have been for at least a week. We've been in lockdown now this is my second day as we're recording this on Friday. Complete countrywide lockdown. All schools closed, all council facilities and everything are completely shut, as we mentioned. And this is before we've had deaths, before we had really many confirmed cases of community transmission. So they've taken a very fast, very aggressive stance, which will hopefully, and based on any kind of modeling, cap this thing at a very reasonable level and sort of prevent it from truly damaging New Zealand in terms of its people. When I look at Australia, where you've still got, open businesses, people out and about more freely. Yes, you're at level 3 now, I think, but it feels like ScoMo and that sort of conservative government approach has been much more, it's business as usual, keep doing what you're doing and don't worry about it. How are you feeling about that now in the global context?
Well, I think everyone in Australia is wishing that we had Jacinda as our Prime Minister. Because of, she's such a good leader, not just because she's decisive in her action, and she also clearly listens to the experts when necessary. And also, I saw on her Facebook thing, she was doing this live Facebook video, which she was just like in her t-shirt or something, and she was just like answering questions that people wanted to know. And I was like, fuck, she's the absolute.
Do you know we had Jacinda on our show in 2015? This was when she was just a member of Parliament.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, she's the actual greatest.
She's very good.
I don't know if it feels like business as usual here, to be honest. Maybe. And I don't think that's the message that's coming from the government.
It was for a while. I think things have changed a little bit. I think you're at stage 3 now. I think it has become slightly more serious. ScoMo did his sit in the office against the bookshelf, presentation to the nation kind of thing. But at start, the messaging was just get on with it. Business as usual. Life goes on.
Yeah. I guess the government has been, a lot of people, I don't know if this is just the bubble that I'm in digitally, but it feels like, we're kind of waiting for the government to properly shut down everything. We don't know, it's the same in New Zealand, but I don't know how people are going to get through this, including, I think we'll be fine, whatever. But unless the government actually freezes rent and mortgages and stuff. I don't know. That's the scary thing.
By freezing rent,
For
you mean
everyone here.
freezing rent payments or increases?
Yeah.
Not having to pay
Payments.
rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to. But it's tricky, man, because you have to do that for the. You have to do that for the landlords as well, and for their mortgages and stuff. And I don't know. I don't know enough about economics to know what the knock-on effect of that will be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem fair that tenants should just be like, I lost my job. I can't pay my rent. You got to cut me some slack here.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem fair to landlords.
No, it is
But it
a
also feels
nationwide
like
problem.
Something needs to happen in order to give some people a lifeline, and I guess that is what they have done in New Zealand and Australia now, which is give 60 days of you can't evict someone for not paying their rent on time.
The interesting thing that I think Australia could look abroad about and potentially adopt is, oddly, America. They've passed a stimulus package, right, where people will actually get cash in hand, sort of in the way that the Labor government did the stimulus package in the GFC, where people just literally get cash. I think in America, the numbers have changed a little bit in the past couple of days. I feel like it's around $2,000 per person. Everyone just gets given cash. That, for some people, will be enough to cover their rent over that time and a bit of groceries. They have a very different social support structure over there, so I don't know exactly whether or not it'll be enough to, for people to live off of for 3 months or something. Probably not. But if they did the same thing in Australia and handed out that money to everyone gets $2,000, landlords and tenants, that would go a long way to minimizing some of that short-term hurt, I think, where there's just more money. It also helps prevent a recession because the economy is slowing down. People will spend that money. But yeah, I that interestingly seems like the easiest, easy in I suppose with an asterisk, the easiest solution to this kind of impending problem.
Yeah, and they have doubled they're doing a $550 payment to people who have lost their job.
Yeah.
But that payment doesn't you can't access that payment until April the 27th.
That's so weird.
Away. It's so weird. I've been trying to go down this, explore this.
Because that's what used to be called New Start, but which is now called Job Seeker or something like that,
Job Seeker,
right?
yeah. Yeah, so those people who were on Job Seeker previously got $550 a fortnight, and then now they're doubling that. But that doesn't come into effect until April 27th. So,
and I mean, people were campaigning for an increase to that rate for years as well, because $550 a fortnight is so fucking unrealistic to cover any expenses whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, even with this, I don't even know if I'm gonna get approved for this thing yet. For this,
how could you not
thing,
be?
But even, well, yeah, probably. But I mean, even with this double thing, it's still like
it's
more
not
than
much.
half of what I was earning before, and it's like, it's. I mean, you got to be grateful for anything at that point, but.
Yeah, and I think to your point as well. Who's hiring? Where are you going to find employment in this time?
Exactly, and it's like, yeah, I've got luckily people, well, not luckily, but people have been, they know this situation that I was in, and they've been sending me, this place is hiring and stuff, but it's like, it might look like, I mean, I've applied for about 20 jobs in the last week, of jobs that I think maybe I just applied for, get this, Nick, I applied for a job as a content writer for The Good Guys.
And you'll be one of 400 applicants.
I know. Fighting to write about
Fighting for
fucking
Good Guys.
washing machines. Yeah, dude.
Can
Can
I just take a beat here and interview you for the role of the Good Guys content creator, please? I've heard that you're interested, and I just what's a bit of your background? Why do you think you'd be perfect for this role?
Well, I've always had appliances in my life. From a young man, I had a fridge. My mum always had a dryer, and I used to actually. This is actually a very fond memory. I always love the smell of the dryer that my mum had, and I think it was a Fisher and Paykel.
Oh, Fisher Paykel,
great brand.
yeah.
And I know you guys stock a lot of Fisher and Paykel.
We've got over 1,300 Fisher Paykel products.
I did my research, and it would always smell like warm clothes. And sometimes
Musty.
I'd like to get in there, and I'd get in there. And I think that's when I first fell in love with appliances. I would hide away from the world in a Fisher and Paykel dryer.
Nice. And if you were to sort of characterize your writing experience, have you done anything sort of appliance related in the past?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, everything's connected back to appliances. I mean, human beings are appliances. We're just living and breathing appliances. And I've done a lot of writing about humans, about human appliances.
But nothing,
and like
nothing
I said
in
before,
this field, it sounds like.
Well, I mean, I said before, I've always had appliances in my life. Did I tell you about the dryer?
You did tell me about that. I mean, you've brought a toaster to the interview, which
Yes.
I appreciate, you know. But
It's just
can you
in
tell
case
me the
things went
story
really
about?
bad.
Yeah. Can you tell me the story about this? Because, you know, not many of the other applicants have actually brought something from home. Sort of, perhaps you've misunderstood because this isn't like a show and tell. But
Yes.
why is this toaster here?
I actually bought this toaster from you guys a couple of weeks ago, and it's actually not the right one, so I just actually came in to get a refund.
Oh, okay. And what's our refund policy?
Exchange. Do you have one?
I'm sorry, I don't think we'll be hiring at this stage. But all the best for your continued search.
Can I get a store credit?
Yes.
Can I get a store credit?
One more question. Have you ever done something sexually with an appliance?
No.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That was good, man. I think I got it. I think I made with a shot.
The key takeaway here is that if they ask, you have to say yes. You have to have fucked an appliance to have worked at Good Guys. That's a Good Guys guarantee.
That's what makes them good.
That's
guys.
why they're good. They treat their appliances with love.
I made love to her. What are other appliances?
A bar mix.
I made love to a dishwasher. But that was fun. But the other place that are hiring is like Telstra. So, man, all these fucking options, they just suck. But you're just gonna, I think you're just gonna have to suck them up. I don't want to work in a fucking call center, dude. But you know,
You
some
do what you
people,
do.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you feel like I've asked you this previously, and I'm just checking in because we've been talking about it for a few weeks now. Where do you feel like your concern level is versus where it should be, and where everyone else around you is?
Good question. I think I deal with things in maybe a unique way, and maybe not necessarily a healthy way, but my coping mechanisms are basically the same for every kind of rough situation that I might get into. If you told me that you had cancer and you had 2 weeks to live, I think I'd deal with it
By sending an
in the same
emoji.
way. Yeah, sorry about that. It was a me-moji, by the way. It was custom. Is that me?
Michael's default reaction to any kind of emotional content in a communication is to find either an appropriate GIF or memoji and send that in lieu of any words, sentiment, empathy, communication, discourse.
It's just easier.
Yeah, that's probably the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're actually getting on to the thing that I was going to talk about anyway, which was basically just shut down emotionally, and just make lots of jokes, try and put it to the back of my mind as long as I can, and then hope, like, just try and deal with it on a non-emotional level, and then go to bed, turn the lights off, and then try and sleep with all those
pent up,
all the things that I should have been thinking about properly and dealing with throughout the day, and then they all just come flooding into my bedroom like monsters.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds grim.
Monster
but that's
flood.
actually even when Casper told me he was moving to New Zealand, and I initially thought that he was gonna, he was going forever. I was like, shit. Like, in my head, I was like, shit, but I wasn't like feeling
It didn't
feeling
hit.
like sad, but I knew that I would be sad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a
So
delayed
I'm just
reaction,
really emotionally
emotions.
immature.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's right, and it's not healthy. I should probably.
Well, it just means
spend
that
this
if
time working on
if you know about that, then you can mentally compensate by analyzing what emotion you will feel, and then before you feel it, say the thing that would be appropriate in that time now, if that makes sense. If you're like, oh, Casper's going to be leaving, I'm going to be sad about that. I don't feel sad yet. What would a person who is sad say right now? Oh, man, that sucks, Casper. I'm sorry that you'll be going.
Are you saying that I should do that?
Yeah,
or
that you should do
what I
that.
am doing?
That if you know that you don't have, if you won't be able to speak from the heart just yet, but you have a sense of what you will feel about it, then use your brain to continue that train of thought and then turn it into that response now, even if you don't feel it yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Funnily enough, I actually invited him over the next day for a curry, and we just got really drunk, and then I did say all those things.
See, that's sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, good question. What about you? You're pretty well put together,
What about me in terms of my ability to have emotional
How are you
responses to
processing
things,
this?
or do you mean specifically the quarantine thing?
Let's start with the COVID response.
Yeah.
Emotional response that you've had to that. Like, are you scared? Are you anxious or something?
I'm not. Most of my anxieties are externalized. I'm concerned. Concerned is probably too severe. I'm alert and keeping an eye on Australia quite closely, because obviously that's where family is. That's where friends are. My sister's in Melbourne. She's still being sent to work on her placement. She's going out and she's like working in OT. She's going out and meeting clients and like dealing with kids who have autism.
Wow.
This kind of thing. And I understand why some of those support network stuff are important to keep there as long as you can. But also, I feel like that's too much. I don't think that people should be going out and traveling all over town and meeting different people and then, cross-pollinating between different groups. I would prefer that she was not going out. So I have like a long distance sort of eye on that sort of stuff. My parents are working from home. That's good. My fucking dad dropped into our group chat yesterday a photo of himself in a hospital bed, being like, feeling okay. He had his AirPods in, feeling okay, listening to Sufjan pretty good. And I was like, what the fuck? And my sister was like, Dad, why, what are you doing? Why are you in hospital? And he was like, pre-op, all going fine. And then Mum jumped into the chat to say, he's having a carpal tunnel operation on his hand. And we were like, in this climate, Dad, can you not just post photos of yourself in hospital out of context with no?
That's funny as shit, though.
It's very dad. He did
He did
apologize and understand, but we were just like, not the best time for anonymous hospital
That's
pics.
hilarious. That's the best.
So yeah, he had his off. It's all good. He's fine. But yeah, so he's working from home. He and Mum have been working from home for a week now. Office is closed, and they'll be fine. I think I trust them not to go off and do something stupid, and they're barely social at the best of times. So yeah. From that aspect, that's where sort of my external worries are. But then I started to feel like I work from home anyway, so my day-to-day routine's actually not changed that much, only in the extent that I can't really go out at weekends like I would have. But you're still allowed to go out for small walks and that sort of thing, so I'll be okay. I don't mind it. My housemates are all working from home for the first time, really, for an extended period. One of them, I think, is going to go fucking crazy because I just think he feels claustrophobic. And
is this your mate?
This is Colin, yeah. So he got up.
Oh no. What about the other guy? Where did that go?
Which one? Mark?
The one that came back with like a horse's head or something.
No, Hamish.
In the fridge.
Yeah. No, Hamish has moved on.
Is he still there?
Yeah.
Where did he go?
That was end of November last year. He moved away because the end of the student semester.
There you go.
To be clear, he came back with a sheep's head because it was a gift to, I want to say, an Afghani.
What? His cat?
No, an Afghani woman. Apparently, that a horse head is like a really prized key possession for some like cooking and recipes and stuff. And so he'd been down at like an abattoir, and they had been killing sheep, and he grabbed one for her. Kind of sweet. I mean, still an unsettling thing to find in the fridge.
I mean, well, still an unsettling thing to be like, what'd you do today, Hamish? Well, it's actually just down at the abattoir.
Yeah. Grabbed a head for you. Colin, just on the day before lockdown, woke up at 4 a.m., drove like an hour and a half into the wilderness, sat on like a mountaintop and watched the sunrise. Because he was, I think, somewhat apprehensive about the month of quarantine incoming. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, I think it will depend on personalities, how caught up people are. Anyway, again, that was a tangent to say that my day-to-day work isn't too badly affected, but I noticed it and I started to feel it emotionally when I realized that I won't get to see my boyfriend for a month or more. We're not allowed to cross, you're not meant to mix your bubbles between different households, so you can't go and see each other. There are some exceptions for like mixed families. Yeah, you could potentially, but
you guys are doing the right thing.
It is a risk, yeah. And doing the right thing. Yeah. For half a second, mused about moving in, but I have other housemates. His parents still don't know that he's seeing a guy. So, yeah, it was just not an option. But when that happened, and then when on the last night before the quarantine kicked in, we were hanging out. Then I started to feel a bit sad and not anxious, but just like it became very real in that sense where I was like, oh, shit, yeah, no, now this is actually properly affecting me.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
So you felt a bit blue as a result of the lack of human interaction that you've been able to have.
Yeah. Yeah. After seeing him, 3 or 4 times a week for the past 3 months.
Yeah.
It was a realization of like, yeah, this is now we're entering real stakes now, and you don't get to go to people.
It's funny, I had the exact opposite reaction.
Oh God, I'm going to see so much of my girlfriend.
Trapped in a house with Emma for a month, yeah.
I'll give you a chance now to take that back.
Nah. It is what it is. She feels the same way, I'm sure.
Yeah, she did actually tell me today. You're playing your podcast without your headphones in? Why the fuck? What are you doing? Playing podcast too loudly. That's not good behavior.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
That is something she complains about a lot.
Yeah.
I've been listening to this
Put your
one
fucking earplugs
podcast.
in.
I got so obsessed with this podcast that I just discovered this podcast that I don't think you should go anywhere near this podcast, by the way. It's a very irreverent pod with like two comedians, but I just discovered it was the funniest shit I've ever heard. And then I realized that they had done like 400 episodes. So I was like, oh my God, I've hit the absolute jackpot.
Yeah.
And I listened to like 50 episodes in a month. Jesus. And I was just like playing it again and again and again and again and again. All the time.
Yeah.
It's called Tuesdays with Stories. For anyone, Mark Norman, Joe List.
Well,
Funnily
this
enough,
is
Mark Norman opens for Jerry Seinfeld and Joe List opens for Louis. So there's actually some really interesting stories that he's got from On the Road.
Is he currently opening for Louis or previously opened for Louis?
Yeah.
Currently opening for Louis.
Currently, yeah.
Weird.
So he's got some... They just tell each other stories from... They just like...
Talk.
We'll pick a story or something. Like, oh, this happened to me or whatever. But it's pretty interesting to hear him like going to dinner and stuff with Louis and people coming up and stuff. It's interesting.
That actually brings me to a little segue I thought we could try here. Welcome to Deep Thought's Recommendation Engine. With people either in lockdown or imminently in Australia, hopefully entering lockdown, I feel like it's worth us giving a little bit of like a recommendation engine, where we just throw some things we've been listening, watching, playing, reading,
cool,
throw it out into the mix
idea.
and just give people potentially a taste of some entertainment things for those quiet, long days.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else in mind?
I saw a good movie the other day called Swallow, which is kind of like a indie... It's not even that indie. It's like a thriller thing about a woman who... don't want to give too much away. She starts swallowing objects around the house as a way to... I don't know. Maybe it's a cry for help. Maybe she's trying to... Who knows what she's doing, but it's called Swallow, and it's a really fucking good movie.
Fiction, not documentary.
A fresh thriller. No. Yeah.
I just got back from a little walk in which I listened to the new Sufjan Stevens and Lowell Bram's album Aporia, which just dropped yesterday. I have to say I was a little bit underwhelmed. It's more of it's ambienty. It's more in the experimental world. It feels kind of like Suspiria even though it's not a score, but it's more like this artist going off and playing in a different kind of space for a bit, trying out some different moods and tones. There's very little in the way of lyrics. It's not really a Sufjan album in that way. Couple of tracks which are good, but on the whole a little bit unmemorable, unfortunately. The one album that I will throw out, which I just will double check so I can quote correctly. In fact, there's two I'll throw out. Ultra Easter. I don't know if you've gone back to that another time.
That
Ultra Easter
that album rules.
Is Nigel Godrich from Radiohead fame, but also a whole bunch of other amazing productions. They have a new album after I think about 8 years called Sister. It's a trio, a female vocalist. It is a really good kind of sonic, glitchy beats, very similar to the Anima a little bit. A lot of interesting tones and modes and that kind of stuff. If you're feeling like a bit of a banger, it's really groovy. It's really, really good.
Seconded that one. And
the other one which I'll throw out, which is a slightly different tone, is by this artist called Richard Reed Parry. He is one member of Arcade Fire, which has about 35 members, I believe. But this album is actually released sort of 2 albums in the past year. Quiet River of Dust, Volume 1, and Quiet River of Dust, Volume 2. Volume 1 is the one I've been hitting up so far. It's kind of in that indie thing. He describes it as having Japanese influence, but it's kind of folky. He's writing songs which don't have traditional structures. They're very linear. They start in one place and they don't repeat themselves, end up somewhere different. It's like a nice hang. I really sort of like the more... It feels kind of dusty.
What's it called again?
Quiet River of Dust, Volume 1 and Volume 2. There's 2 parts to it. Richard Reed Parry. I've been enjoying those quite a lot. Cool. Anything else you want to throw into the mix?
I saw Tom Segura's new Netflix comedy special, which was pretty funny, called Ball Hog.
What's Tom Segura from? Is he only a stand-up?
Comedian.
Yeah,
he's only a stand-up. Probably not your cup of tea, to be honest, Nick. I'm just going through my Netflix. So what we do? Did you see Arrested Development had new episodes out? Or are they old?
Oldish, but yeah, at the end of season 5, is that where you got through?
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
I really thought season 5 was quite good.
It just came up as new.
Oh, you haven't watched it? Or you have watched it?
No. They just came out.
Not that recently. Yeah.
Okay.
A year ago, I think. Unless they've done something weird that I wasn't aware of.
Okay.
Arrested Development season 4, I think people had mixed feelings about. They recut it. We talked about that, how they took very long, sort of hour-long episodes and recut it into a season of 22 and mix-matched. I thought that was quite interesting, conceptually. But then season 5, they really worked hard to make sure they had all of the characters and all of the actors in as many of the same places at once. And it feels like the old show. I really quite liked it. I thought it was as good a closer of that series, given the fact that it's 15 years on at this point, that you could hope for. So I was glad I stuck it through.
Yeah, cool. I'll give that a crack. Also, I'm really hungry for good docos. So if anyone's got any good doco tips, can you please send them our way? Because I really...
Yeah.
What's behind you there, Nick?
I think my Siri turned on, that's all. So whatever I said, something triggered in the distance.
Hey, Nick, Siri.
No, I've got headphones on, Michael. That's not how that works. That... Actually, I'll hold that thought for one more second, and I'll just throw out, if you're looking for a little pick-me-up of a show, something that makes you laugh and feels warm and it's not too challenging, Schitt's Creek is on Netflix. It's just really nice.
Yeah, is that good?
Yeah, it's Eugene Levy and his son, Daniel Levy, who co-created the show together, and they both play father and son in real life, and his real-life sister's on the show. It's it's like a sweet Canadian sitcom, but the characters grow. They become better people over the course of the seasons, and it really is just a satisfying little bit of comfort food. If you're feeling like a pick-me-up, I recommend it. It's better than you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was going to be crap, but then I actually did hear from a couple of people that it's really good.
Yeah. Your request for doco recommendations also brings me to a point that I was going to say closer towards the end, though I suppose we're honing in on it now, which is that if we're going to do podcasts slightly more often, and, it's strange times at the moment, you're locked in your house potentially, send us an email. Send us a deepthought@gmail.com. It doesn't have to even be a question. Just get in touch and, tell us a story. Tell us something weird that happened. And we'll keep in touch. We'll make an effort to do more mailbags.
I also had a thought that I think you and I could both work on for homework, which I think what this podcast needs.
Finally, we've identified it.
Is like a few break jingles, just maybe 4 or 5 second
Buxton
things,
sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but it would be just to break up when we have changing from. It helps segment everything.
Sure.
So maybe both of us could try and come up with a few whatevers.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
All right, cool.
If you are feeling alone in the world, then please don't, because you're not alone. There are millions of people out there. Some say tens of millions. And they're all listening to Deep Thought, this podcast. And do you want to know which episodes? Well, all of them. Starting from number one. Well, actually, don't start with number one. Avoid episode number one. Oh,
why? I like number one. Sometimes I go back. This is something.
You realize you're being recorded?
Yeah. Sometimes when I come back from a big night out, need to sleep on the couch, I'll put in one of the earlier episodes. Makes me feel...
Nothing makes me feel better than my own voice.
It's not my own voice. It's the time that it was. It helps me. I don't know.
It's a dose of nostalgia.
It's sad as fuck, but it does. It's like nice to go. It's nice to go back in time. You know. Well, it's like if you like Tom Cruise in Minority Report, where he kept watching videos of his family before they were all killed.
Okay, sure. Well, then do as Michael says. Head to deepthought.podbean.com or scroll down in your podcast player and pick an old episode. You know, go back. If you started in the past year or two, go back and taste test some of the early stuff. It's going to be worse than it is now. And that's part of the fun. The other places you can find us and others are facebook.com/deepthought, twitter.com/deepthought, instagram.com/deepthought, or just on the app, which is where people use Instagram. Michael, what's on the Instagram? You set this up. This was your brainchild.
Sorry, I actually just tuned out for a second. Yeah. Well, I thought I don't know what the Instagram's going to be yet, but we've got about 30 followers now, Nick, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I'm thinking maybe some sponsorship. Maybe we'll start advertising for perfume or something.
Oh, podcast, the perfect medium for perfume sales.
Revenue.
Do you have a cologne?
I mean,
do you wear a cologne?
Yeah, dude.
What do you wear?
Hell, every day. I don't want to tell.
Why not? You don't want to give it away for free. You want to either get sponsorship money or nothing.
It's a Ralph Lauren, and I put it on every day.
What smell?
Like kind of my scent.
What does it smell like?
It smells like me now.
Okay, that's a bit presumptive. Does it smell like elderberries? Does it smell like daffodils? Does it smell like butter?
Yeah, it smells like butter.
You smell like you fell asleep on popcorn.
A little bit. But I don't know. Maybe I'll delete it soon. But I've posted up a few. I've got a few photos of you and me from back in the day. So I might post up a few of those.
Is it sole purpose just going to be
funny?
Just bringing up old embarrassing photos of us both.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good selling point. Yeah.
There's something. In amongst other stuff, I'll let them know when we've got new episodes and stuff.
Yeah, you could do an excerpt of a little audio clip and a podcast episode when it goes up.
Could. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud.com. Send in your questions to deepthought@gmail.com or just your comments. You know, reach out. You're not alone. It's weird out there in the world, but we're here too, and we're weird. So we can all just weird out together. And if you're on your phone and you're browsing through that old podcast player, just give us the old rating, right? Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It matters. It just helps. And you want to help people. You're a good person. I love you. I have a story,
Yeah, I want to hear the story. Oh, your story!
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me the story, baby.
So, a few days ago, I was messaging with my friend Chris in Adelaide. He was at work. I was here, I think, and we were just chatting over what was mid-afternoon his time. And he sent through just a chat complaining, I'm hungry, correct this, please. Right? It's, just like a silly comment. Obviously, I'm a different country. He's in Adelaide. Obviously, the perfect or correct joke here was to take this seriously and get him food. To, in fact, get Uber Eats and deliver him some Maltesers to his 12th floor accountant's office where he works.
Did you actually
in Central City? Obviously, this was the correct thing to do, and so I committed to it. And I ordered Uber Eats for someone else in a different country.
How do you do that?
You can just type in someone's address. You don't have to be in the country. So,
What?
I know. Seems like problematic, but at the end of the day, you're paying for it. So, it's going to, the money's already been spent, right? What became very quickly apparent is there were logistical hurdles to this delivery, right? So I got this thing. I put in the address. You can put a note when you're like making the booking as well, or for the order. Well, I put in the note saying, "This is not for me. Please take it to the 12th floor. Hand it to the receptionist and say it is for Chris' last name." Right? That was up front.
Yeah.
But then, I paid for the thing. A driver was matched to me. I have a pretty good Uber Eats rating, but I was also taking quite a significant risk here. This could go very wrong.
Yeah.
Put the money through, and the guy was on his way. He was watching on the map. I got these Maltesers from a service station, right? That was what was on Uber Eats. You can get a whole variety of things, including ice creams and chips and things. I went with some Maltesers, kind of a universal. He didn't say what he wanted to eat. The driver first missed the servo. And I was like, oh, God, this is not a good start. He drove past the servo and then had to do a lap around the block to then come back and come in again. That was not a good omen for what was to come. Next problem, of course, was I've never been to my friend's office. I've never been to the 12th floor accounting firm in which he worked. I don't know if there are any on-site hurdles here, whether you need a swipe to get in the lift or to get upstairs. I didn't even know if they had a receptionist whatsoever. What's the receptionist going to say when an Uber Eats driver comes in and hands Maltesers, potentially saying my name if he hasn't correctly read the note? I do not work there. The receptionist doesn't know about it. And more to the point, I haven't told Chris because this is a joke, right? This is me taking something seriously. I don't want to ruin the surprise and tell him that this thing is coming. I want him to have the receptionist walk in with a bag of Maltesers and say, someone dropped this off, right? This is the correct joke. So the other thing as well, it was now like 4:15 p.m. So getting close to like end of office hours time. This is when I placed the order as well. So I think he missed the servo, picked it up around like 4:25, 4:30. I also didn't know where my friend was at that time. We'd been chatting, but I didn't know if he was free or in a meeting. If someone asked for him at the door, would he come and collect it? There was a lot of potential hurdles here. Yeah. So he circles the block, gets the Maltesers, Uber Eats progresses to delivering to you, right? And I'm like, okay, he's got the item at least. My friend's accounting firm is Central City. It's in Pirie Street, right? Pirie Street for any Uber Eats driver should be a fucking red flag. Any Adelaide listeners out there will know there are no fucking parks on Pirie Street, right?
Oh.
How are you going to get to the 12th story of an accounting firm when there's nowhere on the street to leave your car, right? This is
It's definitely on a car and not like a scooter.
Definitely on a car. Yeah, it's a Corolla. I can see his number plate. He's committed, right?
All right.
I messaged, so I put the note in when I booked the order. I then used the chat function in the Uber Eats thing to message him en route and just repeat. This is for a friend. It's not for me. You got to go to the 12th floor, hand it over at reception, give it to Chris last name. This this was, if he didn't want to go and try and deliver this at Perry Street, he knew it up front before he accepted the order, right? Okay. So I'm watching, the car gets closer. It's now like 4:40 p.m. It's on Perry Street. He's gone past it. He did a U-E. He came back again. And then I get the thing which I absolutely did not want to get, which is the international phone call from an Australian number.
No.
And I listened to this thing. I'm thinking, fuck, this is going to cost you a lot of money, mate. You don't even know that this is my New Zealand number, and I'm sorry. I haven't told him, by the way, that I'm not in the country. Yeah. The Uber driver can't find a park. He's in a loading zone. Can I come down?
He's just got a bag of Maltesers.
He's got a shopping bag with one 500-gram pack of Maltesers in it, right? He says, can I come down and pick it up? I explain, I'm not there. Someone else, he's upstairs. Can you not get upstairs? And he's like, I can't, I'm in the, I can't leave my car. There's not a park. Can you please get someone to come down? And I'm like, fuck.
It will really ruin my joke, mate.
Fuck. Okay, what do I do here, right? 4:45. So send Chris a message on Messenger. And I'm like, this is not a joke. I ordered you Maltesers. They're in an Uber downstairs. Please go collect them. This is not a joke. There's no way to say this in a way that sounds convincing at all. This is on Facebook. We've been chatting, this is half an hour ago now when he'd said, I'm hungry. Feed me, please. The message sits there for like 2 minutes unread. And I'm feeling every second like tick by, right? Unseen agony. I'm like, okay, I've got to ruin it. And so I call him international. I call my friend's phone. It goes straight to voicemail. I'm like, fuck. Okay. Send him a text. Send the same text, which is like, I'm not shitting you. There's an Uber driver downstairs. Please go downstairs. There's Maltesers for you. I ordered you. This is not a joke. Now the driver calls again. He's sounding upset now. It's been like 5, 6, 7 minutes of him sitting downstairs on Perry Street.
Oh man!
With food, just a fucking bag of Maltesers, right? Just sitting there like a fucking idiot, holding someone's tiny bag of Maltesers, $7 of Maltesers. The line is bag. It's an international call. He's calling me from an Australian number. It's probably costing him like $2 a minute. He's Indian, so the communication's a little tough. I'm trying to explain. I'm sorry. I've messaged him. Are you sure? Can you not go upstairs? Like, give me 1 more minute. I've messaged him. He's like, okay. I hang up again. I watch the Facebook chat window. Nothing's happening. I can feel my Uber Eats rating dropping like a star every 30 seconds. Finally, Chris logs on to Facebook chat. He says, I missed him. I ran so fast. I'm like, oh, fuck, what? And I look at the Uber Eats app and it says, I can see he's still outside. I'm like, it looks like he's still there. It's like a Corolla. This is the license plate. If you're legit downstairs, look around because he should be there. No acknowledgement from Chris yet. I get a third phone call from the dude. It's been like 10, 12 minutes now. He's been parked outside this office building on Perry Street. And he's like concerned. He's like, what's happening? If you can't, what do you do? And I was like, I'm sorry. When I made the delivery, I said 12th floor, Perry Street, leave at reception. It's not like this was a surprise. I am sorry that it's not working out.
That.
Yeah.
You said it's not like this was a surprise, guy.
It's not like I suddenly sprung on you that you would have to do this, right? I'm very sympathetic. I don't want this to have been how it worked, but I never lied about anything, right?
At this point, mate, you're just collateral damage.
Well, I was just like, if you can't get up there, keep the Maltesers. You've already been paid. I'm sorry. We'll just call it a wash. Go home, right? And I was like, just keep it, right? I spent, $25 on, I think it was like, $18 or something like that. And then, throw it away for a joke, right? Just take him and go. He hangs up. He doesn't even say goodbye. He's clearly in a bad mood.
Definitely.
Another agonizing sort of minute or two passes. Chris hasn't seen the other messages, and the Uber Eats thing closes. Delivery over. I'm like, well, shit.
Worth it.
Yeah, that was money down the drain. Uber Eats guy pissed, rating, now in the toilet. And then I get a message from Chris. Holy shit, he was real. And I was like,
oh
did
my
you get
God.
it? He's like, yeah, what? I honestly thought you were lying. The champion
That's the best.
left his car running in the loading zone, ran upstairs, 12 floors, up into the office, ran into the office, just about threw the Maltesers into the hands of the very confused receptionist, said Chris, last name, and then ran away. Chris never even saw the Uber driver. The receptionist walked into the office and handed Chris a shopping bag, double shopping bag with Maltesers. Total cost, I tipped him like $10 for the nightmare on top of the fee already. Total cost like $25, $28, something like that. But Chris got his Maltesers. So far, my Uber Eats rating seems vaguely intact. And, you know, other than 45 minutes of agony, everyone emerged unscathed. So, joke succeeded.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah. And I got a photo of him.
I feel really bad for the guy.
I do feel bad for him as well. I got a photo of Chris holding the bag of Maltesers. His comment was, turns out you can buy happiness. It cheered me up. I was like, well, there you go.
Very nice. Very good. That reminds me, actually, I'm actually pretty hungry for some pad thai, Nick. So, balls in your court, mate.